Hello, and welcome to this tech tip. Today we wanted to show you how to restructure your data in IBM SPSS Statistics. My name is Astrid Cook, and I'm an analyst here at version 1. So we have a challenge. We want to merge these two files together. Now you can see my first file here and my second file here. But if you look at the first file, we have a column which has an identifier. So we have identifier 1 here, and we have 5 records for person 1. And we can see this is their first score here, their second score, their third score, their fourth score, and their fifth score. We want to merge this information with attitudinal questions. So we can see the same person is here, identifier 1, and their responses to attitudinal questions. So what we actually want to do is restructure the first data file. We'll create a file with 1 row for each individual. Each score will become a new variable, and then we'll merge this information with the second file. So in doing this, we want to show you how to use the Restructure Data Wizard. Now, to get to the Restructure Data Wizard, you need to go to the Data menu and select Restructure. Just so you're aware, the wizard will restructure your data, and it replaces the current data set with the restructured data, so you need to make sure that you save the restructured data file under another name. But you can see I'm going from this format here to this format. So we can see person 1's information is now in 1 row, and then we have 5 score variables. So when we're on the Restructure Data Wizard, it will ask you what you want to do. You can restructure selected variables into cases. You can restructure selected cases into variables, or you can transpose all data. Now, as I was saying, I want to go from this to this. So we can see ultimately we'd like to have every individual's information in 1 row. And then I could do things such as compute an average score across these 5 scores, and I can also take the maximum score. So let's see how this works in IBM SPSS Statistics. So I'm back in IBM SPSS Statistics, and I have a small sample data file. Now I mentioned that you can see the ID or the identifier here. And if we look at the first identifier here, 1, this is person 1, you can see they have 5 scores. So this is the first score, second score, third score, fourth score, and fifth score. And then we look at person 2, this is the first score, second score, third score, fourth score, and fifth score. What I want to do is switch the data around. I want to restructure it so that each ID has its own row. And then once I have 1 row per person, I can merge it with another data set that has 1 row per person. So to get started, what I need to do is go to the Data menu. And I will select Restructure. And this brings up the Restructure Data Wizard. Now, before you get going, it's going to remind you that the wizard will replace the current data set with the restructured data. What I'm going to do once I've restructured my data is save that restructured data set under another name. Now, I have the option to restructure selected variables into cases, to restructure selected cases into variables, or to transpose all data. So I want to restructure selected cases into variables, and I'll click on Next. Now here we have cases to variables. So it lets me know that I need to choose variables that identify case groups. And I'm going to select ID and move it into the identifier variable box because that's going to identify case groups. Next thing, I'll click on Next. Here I have options to sort the data. Now I am going to sort the data. I'll click on Next. And then I have cases to variables and the options, and here I can set options that will be applied to the restructured data file. At this point, I'm going to click on Next, and then we can restructure the data file now, or if we want to, we can paste the syntax generated by the wizard. And it says use this when you want to save or modify the syntax before you restructure the data. I'm going to restructure the data now, so let me click on Finish. Now it gives me output. So it shows me the new variables that I'll have in my data set. I can see the variable names here. And then it gives me processing statistics. So I can see cases in, cases out. I can see variables in, variables out, and index values. Let me minimize this output. And now you can see my restructured data set. So ID 1 or person 1, you can see this is score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, score 5. And remember, my purpose for restructuring the data in this manner is, one, to get a max score and an average score, but also to merge this data with another data set where I have these same individuals, but I have their attitudinal scores. Now remember, I need to save this restructured data file with a new name. So I will go on the File menu. I'll go down to Save As. And I'll just call this Demo Data Restructured. Let me click on Save. Now I have my restructured data set. Now to get the max score, I'll go to the Transform menu and I'll select Compute. Now I want to filter by a function name. So I've typed in max. I'll click on the max function and I'll use the arrow to move it up into the numeric expression box. And then I just want to take the max score of score 1, just move the variable names into the expression. Score 3, and I'll put a comma between the variable names. I'll just call this max score. And then I'll click OK. And now we can see the max score here. Now I also want to take an average, so I'm going to go back to the dialog recall this time and bring up the compute dialog box again. And instead of using the max, I'll use the mean function, and I will call this average score. And now I have the average score. Now I want to merge in the attitudinal data. So let me go on the data menu. I'll come down to merge files and I want to add variables to this data set. So it says select a data set from the list of open data sets. Now I do have the attitudinal scores open. I could also browse for an external SPSS Statistics data file, but I'll click on the data set, click continue. I'm doing a one-to-one merge based on key values. My key variable is ID, and let me click OK. And now you can see I've merged in the attitudinal responses into this data set. It matched on the identifier. So I used the Restructure Data Wizard to restructure my data into a format that I could then use to merge with another data set. I also calculated the maximum score and the average score. Don't forget about the Restructure Data Wizard because it can save you a lot of time and it gives you a lot of options on the wizard. Again, you can get to the Data Restructure Wizard by going to the Data menu here and selecting Restructure. So that's everything we wanted to show you today. If you want more information, you can visit us at www.spssanalyticspartner.com. So thanks for watching and bye for now.